So they'll be calling you a radical April 2nd. March Madness, no April Madness. So the historic games were always played in that arena. So San Diego State, which, I grew up there and here my whole life. I was born in the Ogden, old D hospital, but spent half my life in San Diego. I'm a college basketball fan. So San Diego State had great teams for decades and decades. When I was young, my favorite San Diego State player is the best ever was Tony Gwynn. I used to go to all those games. I loved it, college basketball was the shit. But they had these great, great teams. I used to say, when I was a gambler, San Diego State, Texas, both powerhouse programs, powerhouse teams every year, get into the tournament, go down early in the tournament every year. So, not this year. Texas got a ways, but San Diego State. So you had Michael Jordan, 1982, New Orleans. You had Keith Smart, 1987. The Butler did it. That shot is Bill Rafferty, who I love, big time. Big time. Will go down in history as one of the great shots in, one of the great sports histories. The epic in Houston. The epic in Miami. San Diego in those days, Dan Fouts, Winslow. That's the greatest football game probably in history of professional football. But San Diego can't not ever win. But I'm old enough to remember the AFL Chargers in the early 60s at Balboa with my grandpa. Oh, they won. Haven't won since. Anything. The Padres, Tony Gwynn played for San Diego State. Basketball. And he was all that. He was incredible there. He could have been a professional basketball player easily. The Murph. I never liked the Murph, but the Murph died of cancer. San Diego Stadium, which was my favorite stadium ever, anywhere. Even more than I liked the Purple Palace. So he goes down. They tore that stadium down. I can't believe it. That stadium is so grand, so incredible. And so Kevin Winslow, these great athletes. Tony Gwynn. Tony Gwynn's not from San Diego. Mr. San Diego. I got cancer the same time as Tony. I knew Tony because he was so active in the community. So was I. Any charity event, anything, we were both always there. That dude could talk like no other. He'd go on forever and ever. He's fighting cancer the same time I was. He went to Scripps. I went to LDS. He tragically passed way too young, but he's the greatest basketball player in San Diego State history. So, go with that left, Jerry. But I want to tell all these people what psycho in San Diego last night partying. I get it. Penned up. Freaking, them Padres. I remember that 84 series, Garvey played for them. Tigers swept them. But that Tigers team was all that. Sparky Anderson. So you got to go back to, 2000 Padres swept by them Yankees. Go back to Chargers 1982. The epic in Miami. The flea flicker. It's the greatest football game probably in history. But guess what happened? They had to go to Cincinnati and play in the Freezer Bowl. Wind chills of 60, 70 below. It's going to be 35 degrees below normal here in April. So, Michael Jordan, 1982. Keith Smart, 1987. The Butler did it. That shot is epic. That shot is, as Rafferty used to say, big time. But you got one more game to go. Tomorrow night, April 3rd. The Connecticut team is on fire. But, I can remember Steve Kerr in '88. That team was blowing people up by 20. And, Kenny Lofton was on that team. Yeah, that Kenny. Only player to play in a World Series and the Final Four. No, I think there was another one. There was a pitcher, Stoddard, and so. But he's my favorite, most underestimated athlete in history of, well, maybe of all sport of all time is Kenny Lofton. So, but remember, they got in the tournament, but they lost in the first round. They got upset. Can San Diego State win this against UConn? Of course. Will they? I guess we'll see, but, you know, it's big time. That shot is incredible. Incredible. The Butler did it. The Butler did it. Michael Jordan, 1982. Those kind of shots make careers. You got to make those shots. I mean, when the pressure's on, money. I mean, unbelievable. Keith Smart, 1987. Butler did it, 2023. That is historic. That shot is epic. It's one of the great moments in sports history ever. Will they have a letdown? People partying in San Diego? Well, I wonder why. The heartbreak of the sports fan in San Diego and the fact that they tore down San Diego Stadium really still pisses me off. Really pisses me off. But the greatest player in San Diego basketball history today, that'd be Tony Gwynn. Long live Tony Gwynn. I thought we did it. The Epic in, you know they call that football game, the Epic in Miami. You think there's some snow here? Holy shit. Stay tuned.